Credit cycle. It's one of the things that I mean, think everybody top of mind everywhere for obviously good reason. So when we were putting together URL University Live, talking with Chris and Vin Meter, of course, introduced me to Joe, and I thought this would be a perfect presentation. Because not only are we interested in identifying signals about a credit cycle, upside, downside, and various cycles within the downside, I wanted to give you all an opportunity to talk about or to listen to the opportunities that something like a downswing or a credit cycle would actually afford. It's great that we can talk about all these general ideas, but what do you do about it? In fact, that's I think the most common question I get certainly is, okay, that's great, but what do we actually do about it? So that's why I wanted to come here with Joe. Joe, you've been in the real estate business and credit business too for a very, very long time, long, extensive history, dealing with, various stages, especially in Florida, various stages of the real estate market. So when we're talking about a credit cycle, credit opportunities, there's various different parts of it, obviously. So, and I think Joe, with your unique experience and unique expertise, especially in real estate, that's probably a part of the marketplace that not a lot of people have even thought about. So that's what want to bring in Joe to talk about something that not a lot of people have really uncovered. And you have a unique way, unique methodology of looking at things and how you work out. So let's start. Joe Batag, everybody.
Thanks, Jeff. So first of all, thanks for coming. And we're talking about real estate debt mostly. We have a lot of famous residents that live around here. One of them is Wayne Gretzky, who I consider the greatest hockey player that ever lived to play the game. And one of my favorite sayings they always would say is it's not where the puck is, it's where it's going. And we're going to talk about that as far as where the puck's going when it comes to real estate and real estate debt, as far as how people can make money in this space. Briefly, I'm going to do a quick background as far as what I've done in the past, and then we'll talk a little bit more about stuff, and you can fire away on some of the questions, Jeff, if you want. So I was a real estate broker out of Illinois in the 1980s. I moved to the Jupiter, Florida area, which is just north of here, in 1991 for better opportunities and the quality of life that this area offers. I had family in the area, and I happened to play some baseball down here in the 1970s, so I knew the area pretty well. I joined Ocwen, which was a New York listed company in 1997. They were based out of West Palm Beach, and they became the largest purchaser and servicer of distressed mortgage debt in the country. I was one of the top performing REO managers there, and I'll define what REO means in a minute. Based on scorecard performance, I managed the most difficult region of the country, which was the Northeast, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania. I learned more in 5 years than people can learn in a lifetime. I was very, very fortunate to have that opportunity. So after I left Ocwen, I was involved in the commercial and residential real estate brokerage as a broker associate for a local office in Jupiter. Started getting REO files, and the REO stands for real estate owned, which basically means the foreclosure's been completed, the bank owns the property. That's a banking term, REO. So I started getting files about 2007 from a lot of my buddies who I used to work with at Ocwen that became managers at other subprime lenders throughout the country. Started as a one-man operation, and everything started blowing up. And by a year later, in 2008, I had 7 or 8 employees. I'm managing 100 to 150 REOs at a time. It was nuts. And I bought the company, the real estate company that I was at, and I've owned it ever since. So by 2012, the real estate market was bottoming out. And I always had the goal to copy the same business model that I learned at Ocwen. Bill Irby, who was the CEO of Ocwen, became one of the 100 richest guys in this country from that model. And so I created the first fund with 2 other partners in 2014. We closed it out successfully in 2017. We achieved very high internal rates of return from that first fund. Then I created a second fund from 2022 to 24, even higher rates of return compared to the first fund. So now we're on our third fund. This one's a little bit different in the sense that I've got Chris, thank God, who's helping me to scale it with a broker dealer network. And we have a very, very deep bench of very experienced team members that are over 100 years of experience in this space. As an example, one of the guys ran 8 NPL funds last cycle at $1.3 billion. NPL means non-performing loans. Just so you know what that abbreviation is.
Yeah, Joe, let's back up and do some basic here. Let's make sure everyone's on the same page.
Yeah.
So we started with REO.
So REO, real estate owned, which I think I defined that. Hopefully everyone understands what that is as far as bank-owned properties.
And banks don't want to own the properties.
Right. And matter of fact, that's a good point. So what happens is with banks is once a loan becomes non-performing, the banking regulators require additional assets in their balance sheet to allocate for that future loan loss. So the banks will typically sell those non-performing loans at a significant discount to get them off their balance sheet because it impairs their earnings every quarter. So it's all about the incentives that the bank executives have to make as much money per quarter. So they're going to get rid of that bad debt to clean up their balance sheet. Matter of fact, Fannie Mae, a couple of quarters ago, allocated close to $1 billion of loan loss reserves.
And so this is where the opportunity really starts.
Yes.
This is where the process really starts. Our question over here.
I've read a little bit about REO in the past, so tell me if I'm wrong, Joe, that when I understand there's like a misperception in real estate laws when we think of foreclosure, right? Which, like you said, it has been foreclosed upon, but most people think of like foreclosure, I'm going to go down to the courthouse and the auction, but actually when that's going on, it can be quite competitive. It's not really, the REO is post foreclosure, and it's where the real opportunity lies, from what I understand. Is that part?
Well, it's once it goes REO, and I've sold a lot of them. It's more of a retail play. There's not much spread left. I mean, investors can still make money. Matter of fact, George Gammon did that in Kansas City last cycle. That was stuff. I was talking to Josh about that to confirm that, and I was going to bring that up. It's like, yeah, George made some good money, but what we're talking about by buying NPLs, he could have bought and made 25 to 40% more per property. That's the kind of discount that we're talking about.
So let's talk about it with NPL. What exactly mean?
Yeah, NPL, non-performing loans, mortgages or loans where the owners have missed payments. That's basically it in a nutshell. Yeah, the banks have it, but normally once they're in default, they'll start peeling off and selling those loans to private equity, to other players.
Just to get rid of the things.
Yeah, because it affects their balance sheet and their earnings.
It gets to a point, right, Joe, where the calculus from the banking side of it is they have a rotten asset that they just need to get rid of because it's toxic waste that's just sitting there quarter after quarter after quarter.
Right.
So there's an incentive there to give them an out to make them want to move it off their balance sheet.
Exactly. Very well said. So a few other terms real quick I'll throw out to you, and this helps from a strategy standpoint. Deed in lieu. We try to do those as much as we can. Those are owners in foreclosure that agree to give up their interest in the property, and they'll sign over their interest to the bank. Stops the foreclosure, save the money on the attorney fees, you save the timeline. We always give incentives to the owners to sign a deed in lieu all day long. And we, part of the beauty of our model is how we try to manage the timelines, because the quicker you can turn over those assets and turn over that capital, is like in a 4-year fund, we'll do it 3 to 5 times in a 4-year cycle. The more rates of return, the higher you're
talking about the loans in the portfolio that you put together. You're always constantly churning through them.
Yeah, as fast as possible, because there's a time value of money that comes into play, and I learned that at Auckland. And another strategy is cash for keys. We do that a lot when the foreclosure is completed. Maybe the owner's in there, maybe there's a tenant in there, and what we'll do is we'll offer an incentive for them to vacate the property. It's like a contract, basically. And a lot of the banks who are locally that I'm doing business with will offer $3,500 for the typical middle-class type of home, which is enough for their first month's deposit for them to move on with life. Ask a parent to going through an embarrassing eviction, and it's not good for anybody. So it's a better fit for everybody involved. That works a lot.
What you're really talking about is lining up so many incentive structures that move into your favor. So it becomes an asymmetrical process. You're giving the bank an incentive to get out of the property. You're giving the tenants or the owner an incentive to vacate the property, so that everything lines up so that you can execute the strategy we're talking about.
Yeah, and again, it's timeline management. The faster you can execute on that, the higher the rates of return become. less friction, but also time value money. I keep saying that because I learned that at Auckland it's baked in the cake. So here's another term, short sales. So that's when a homeowner owes more against the home than what it's worth. They're upside down. You hear that term a lot. So the banks will approve short sales where they understand if it goes to foreclosure, they'll lose more money between the carry costs, the eviction costs, the attorney fees. They're cutting their losses. They understand they're already in a losing position. They're just minimizing their losses. They agree to a short sale to get the owner out of that property and for somebody to buy it. So we'll employ that a lot as well when it's applicable. Loan modifications, we see a lot of that, especially since the last cycle. Mortgage loans that miss payments that go into default, a lot of the banks will work with the homeowners to work on the payment plan that they can afford. And in a lot of cases, we saw that with COVID, the COVID forbearance plans, and we'll talk about forbearance in a moment. But basically, there's a lot of different ways to do that. I'll just give you a couple examples. With FHA, you'll see a lot of loan modifications where it's a 30-year loan, they'll modify it to a 40-year loan to make the payments less, to try to make it something that's more affordable for the homeowners.
Or now a 50-year loan from the government.
That's what they're talking about, which is insane. 40 years is insane as far as I'm concerned. And what happens is
modify every loan to 50 years.
But what happens in reality is even if you do a 40-year loan, insurance and taxes go up. And especially on what they're modifying. If they did a loan originally that at a lower interest rate, at today's rate, they had to modify that to the new rate on a 40-year loan. So between the higher interest rate and insurance and taxes, they're not really saving that much money. So you see a lot of those loan modifications fail.
Why does the insurance and taxes go?
Oh my goodness. Why?
Yeah. Insurance makes sense. Well, are you saying the cumulative payments on them?
Yeah. Like Florida is a good example. We've had huge increases on property insurance costs, huge. Because of the hurricane damage and everything, and there's so much money the insurance companies have to make, not just Florida, but other parts of the country as well. Then taxes, depending on the state, you can have a homestead filed where you can limit those type of increases. But a lot of these people, particularly FHA type of buyers that are buying homes with 3% down, they don't have a lot of savings. It just takes one problem in their life, like a AC breaking down or a roof or whatever, they're in trouble financially.
No, I get that, but you said when you modify the loan, the insurance and taxes go up.
No, it's not because of modification. It's just life in general goes up. Yeah, and thanks for that clarification. Yeah. So that's just over time. That's what happens. But primarily it's the interest rate by itself. In today's world. Yeah.
So you're really talking about cost of living issues that, especially recently, that cost of living, lack of income growth, and the lines are crossing.
Right. Which you talk very eloquently about, and that's why I watch you every night. So in this business, it's called loan mods. If you hear that term, that's what loan modifications are. Loan loss reserves we talked about. There's a lot of the banks, Fannie Mae, they see what's coming. They're loading it up on their loan loss reserves. They see it coming. Mortgage forbearance, that was a good one. So after COVID, when the economy was shut down and a lot of people weren't working, a lot of people don't know this. This is kind of scary. So this is under the Biden administration. They on all the mortgage missed payments, they added it onto as a second mortgage, 0 interest rate, not recorded. It's a silent second mortgage.
How frequent was that?
Much more than you think. And the average balance was $80,000. So
average?
The average. So when you're seeing these articles, everyone's equity rich, everything's fine. They don't even know what the true equity position is, on these properties that were affected by the COVID forbearance plans. The only way you find out is when you have to order a loan payoff. That's the only way you find out. So
Question over here, Joe.
Are you familiar with the work of either Melody Wright or John Carmista?
Matter of fact, two people I know very well. Melanie and I go back to 2022, and I want to talk about Melanie in a minute. And John is very good. And he was, and I'll talk about John in a minute too. Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah. Yeah. And those are two people you need to follow if you have any interest in this space. Both of those can be found on X. Both of them can be found on Substack. And on Substack, you can get a lot more detail if you pay for it, but it's well worth it in my book as far as what they offer.
So just to be clear, let's go back to that point because I think that's going to be.
The portfolio that performs in one economic regime can get crushed in the next. So in this free webinar, we're going to reveal what those 4 economic regimes are, how to identify them, as well as the assets, historically speaking, best positioned to perform in every environment. So reserve your seat now and learn how to prepare your portfolio before the economy shifts again.